Hi YouTubers, welcome to one of my videos. I've had quite a lot of questions related to the Talbot Express Sleeper Motorhome to do with wiring, and it's to do with leisure batteries and charging batteries and solar panels and things like that. So I thought I'd start off with some very basic information. Now, the Talbot Express has an alternator. It doesn't have a dynamo, and I'll just go through the wiring of how the alternator is connected to the battery. I'm not going to cover off fuses or show them on the diagrams, but this is very simple how it operates. The alternator is connected to chassis, which is negative on the vehicle. The positive wire goes to the battery, which is normally a red wire, and it sometimes has a fuse and sometimes it doesn't. The other wire or other electrical connection on the alternator is to the ignition switch and charging light, the red light you have on your dashboard when you turn your key on. So when you turn your ignition key on, it goes through the red light, which is on your dashboard, to the small wire on the alternator. Now when the engine starts, you get an output from the alternator of positive, which the high current one goes to the battery, positive terminal. You also get a positive output on the small wire or other connection, which means that this lamp here has a positive on both sides, so the light goes out. I'll just go through that again. Without the engine running, you turn your ignition on, it goes through the ignition switch, puts positive onto your charge red light. That voltage travels through the lamp when it's illuminated to the alternator small connection, and that light kicks it off to start it working once the engine is running. When the engine is running, you get two positive outputs from it. The high current one, which is the thick cable which goes to your battery, and the small wire which goes to the lamp. And when the lamp has a positive on both sides of it, the lamp will go out. The other connection on the alternator is generally the chassis. Could be a separate wire, or it could be just through the bolt fixings. And again, the battery normally goes to a chassis ground, or in some cases they run the cable all the way back to the alternator. So that's the basics of that so far. Okay, just going to slide this bit of paper out of the way. Now then, on the Talbot Express, it uses the output from the alternator to go to a relay contact, and the other contact on the relay goes to the fridge. Now just going through the process again. When you put the ignition switch on, it lights this lamp up, it puts a feed to the alternator, the thin wire. It also feeds a relay coil. And so what happens is you get a small electric flow through your charge light, which also feeds a relay. But when the engine runs, you get a higher current flowing here, which powers a relay on, which then puts a 12 volt on your fridge. And of course the other end of the fridge is down to chassis again. So this relay is quite critical to your fridge and charging your leisure battery. Now I'm going to come on to the leisure battery now. Let's move this bit of paper out of the way. This relay also triggers the control unit for charging your leisure battery here. So once again, when the engine's not running and the ignition key's off, your fridge is not powered, the relay is not powered, the Zig controller is not charging your leisure battery. So again, you turn the ignition switch on, your charge indicator for the alternator is on. It puts a small feed into the relay, but not enough to normally operate it. And then when the engine runs, you get the high current feed output obviously to your engine battery. You get a voltage output on the thin wire of the alternator, which puts the ignition light off. It also powers the relay, which then passes the high current feed from the output of the alternator through the relay into your fridge circuit. It also feeds the Zig unit. Now the Zig controls a lot of things on your van. I'm not showing all the electrical connections, but it does then charge your leisure battery. And some people call them a split charger, but yeah, it's a unit. Now, just for information, you have obviously going into your fridge a 230 volt connection, so you can power your fridge, but that only comes in when you've got hookup. And the same with the Zig unit. The Zig unit would have the mains running into that, so that when this is not running, it obviously disconnects the fridge from the alternator. It disconnects the Zig unit as well. So when this is disconnected here, both batteries, the leisure battery and the engine start battery, are isolated from one another because there's no flow of electricity from one battery to the other when the engine is not running. And this is to stop you from flattening your engine battery when your lights are on in your van. It becomes isolated because the relay is not operated here. So this relay is quite critical to the operation. This applies to the Talbot Express. It might be different on more modern vehicles because the Talbot's 27 years old and it's very mechanically operated on a lot of things. So engines running, you have both batteries charging, one directly from the alternator, which is your engine battery, the other one via the Zig unit, which limits the current, limits the voltage so it doesn't overcharge your leisure battery. When the engine is stopped, there is no feedback route from one battery to the other. Okay, in the next part of the video I'm going to talk about solar panels and split chargers.